My kick is to always do something that has not been done by anyone in the country. So there are 8,000ers, peaks over 8,000 in the world. There are 14 peaks. Instead of these 14 peaks, why don't I do 14 passes? Then I decided, okay, let's summit or try to ride all 14 passes in almost 1 year. It's very important when you are doing something crazy like this. People need to believe in you. My mantra or my recipe is I will bloom if the freedom and power of execution is given to me. Tandem cycle basically is about compatibility. You have to be compassionate and compatible cyclist rather than a trained or a fast cyclist. Like every record needs to be broken. When you are setting up a record, you
Yes.
set it so difficult for next person that even for attempting someone needs to think twice or thrice.
Hello and welcome to Hit the Road. This is India's #1 podcast for all you cycling and triathlon enthusiasts. My name is Rohan Thakar and it's great to be back with another exciting episode. I know I've given this introduction a lot of times and we have a very special guest. I have said that also a lot of times because every episode brings a new experience for you. And the special person that I have with me is Meera Velankar. Hi Meera,
Hello.
welcome to the podcast.
Hi Rohan. Hello everyone.
So, if you have been around in the cycling community for even a few years, you might have definitely heard of her name. She has done some amazing, she has taken, in fact, some amazing challenges, tried to break every record that is there out there for women, especially because she has been able to set an example for all of us that there's nothing that can stop you if you want to do something. And challenges are what you need to take to upgrade yourself every single time. So Meera, I would not waste any time because there's so much to unpack from you. There's so many experiences that I cannot finish or compress in an introduction. So why don't you only begin with it?
Hi Rohan. Hello everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I was just looking into all the podcasts that have been here. So feeling very lucky that today we are talking, and secondly feeling extremely overwhelmed because finally tandem is something that we are discussing about, and not many people have discussed this topic in when it comes to Indian cycling. So I'm very excited, and in nutshell, my cycling journey is how one can execute Plan B. So after coming to India and after not getting a suitable employment in 2011, I just picked up cycling, and I'm a PhD in life sciences. So I always try to find something unique to work on my speed or to keep doing events that many people are doing is not my kick. My kick is to always do something that has not been done by anyone in the country. And I myself or many people started saying that if I cannot be fast enough, I can be first in something. So it's that scientific mind that works behind this. And I always look forward to, or I always indulge myself into challenges or things that have not been executed in the country. So in nutshell, it's about executing Plan B, and it's about being unique, Rohan.
Lovely. And talking about uniqueness, you recently, in fact, as we are recording this episode, just this week, you completed your very exciting expedition of exploring Bhutan on a tandem bike. So that's the freshest memory, I believe. So why don't we begin with that and then we'll go into the past?
Yeah, so I'm exploring tandem cycling since 2015. In fact, I started this with two women BRM that has been registered under Limca in 2015 with Sheetal. Then there is
Okay.
a series of events that I explored with multiple partners, multiple setups. So Kanyakumari to Kashmir with Robert, then going up on a highest motorable pass Umlingla with Utkarsh.
Okay.
Then, when we talk about tandem, there are naturally so many challenges that in India you don't have, fancy tandem bikes. They are very entry level, and have been
Okay.
very fortunate to have support from Polygon throughout.
Hmm.
And when I was doing different events, I just saw that 14 Peaks is the theme that has been done by Nims Purja, and I think the record is being broken now by a Norwegian climber. So I just
Okay.
saw that, yeah, someone has
Can you
climbed
just
14.
share a little more about what this challenge is?
So there are 8,000ers, peaks over 8,000 in the world. There are 14 peaks. So Nirmal Purja is a Nepalese climber, and
Hmm.
he tried summiting all these peaks under 6 months, 6, 7 months. And it's
Okay.
a very famous Netflix series, Netflix movie, Project Possible. So I was just inspired by that when I was trying to do something unique, and I thought, okay, instead of these 14 peaks, why don't I do 14 passes? And during my Umlingla ride, I had already finished 5 high altitude passes with Utkarsh. So I took this forward, and
Who is Utkarsh?
Utkarsh is my tandem partner. So it's also a very funny, unique fact that we share an age difference of 20 years in this pair.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Utkarsh is around 26 and I was 46 when we did this record. But we are together only by the fact that we enjoy our time on tandem. We share same frame, same goal, same dream, and we can go to any extent to finish whatever we have opted for. So it's a very tight pair. Yeah. So going back, then I decided, okay, let's submit or try to ride all 14 passes in almost 1 year. So after 5 passes of Umlingla, this Nathula permissions took me 4 months. My
Hmm.
another friend Abhishek, he was there with me. Now, what happens when you are trying to venture out every 2 months? Then you might not have same people. People
Yeah.
don't have time, funding, priorities change. Not everyone is a tandem rider. So many of my rides, I have been, had to change my partners and go with different people. But I was very kind of consistent, and I was very much convinced about the this one, about the goal that I opted for. And so, in a nutshell, 14 passes in a year, and now I'm on to my ninth pass.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And how was your experience doing these passes? How did this planning begin for you? Because riding international is a different challenge altogether. And above that, doing in Bhutan, which is a very hilly location. So, what was your preparation for this? What was your planning for this? Of course, your training plays a very big role, but the logistics and everything in an international location, I'm sure it has its own challenges.
Yeah, so before I had tried Nathula, which is from Bagdogra in some another direction. Then in December, I was in Nepal. I did a solo trip and I wanted to wanted to ride few passes. But unfortunately, when I went there, I saw that these passes are not rideable. Those are off-road passes like Gara Ketla and all near Timbum Pokri. So I have invaded and I had traveled this region for past 5, 6 months exhaustively. And I just, yeah, when speaking about Bhutan, I knew that riding without guide is not allowed. One has to stay in 3, 4, 5 star hotels. Going on your own is not allowed. Uh, you need a tour operator and you will need support cars. So it was a 6 months project for me.
Okay.
Rather, from starting a creative, posting it on Cyclop, around 20 to 23 people showed interest in that project. And out of that, finally, 8 to 10 people could actually pay 35,000. That was the ticket value. Then there also, I wanted to keep it unique. So I made it organizer free event. So the whole theme was everything was offloaded to a person. Like someone was taking care of hotels, someone was taking care of immigration. And there was no one who came there to basically earn money or organize. It was people's event. Eight
Right.
to 10 people, they collectively operated as a team, and we
Hmm.
got this done. Even though the concept was mine, but then you also need soldiers, you also need
Absolutely.
I felt like that Akshay Kumar of Special Chabbis. So, so I was the brain behind it, but then I luckily got good people who believed in my idea. It's very important when you are doing something crazy like this. People need to believe in you.
A very big role of support has to come from the family as well. So while you are, doing all these crazy rides, going to different locations across India and the world as well. So what does your family think about it when you do this?
So yes,
Because
yes.
the reason why I'm asking is because even if I go for a short ride, which may be around or outskirts of Bombay, my family is always worried about it.
So I have been extremely lucky in that aspect also, I should say. Sometimes when you are doing such projects and when you are trying to be unique, you are trying to execute something which is very, very difficult for someone to understand who is into 9 to 5. The least you expect is minimum
Mm-hmm.
interference and freedom to execute, because in my 11 years, I have seen lot of blessed athletes, but they are
Mm-hmm.
limited by lot of questions from their family. They will have to share
Right.
their Strava beacon with their families. People will moderate and
Yeah.
oversee their rides. Where are you stopping? What are you doing?
Hmm.
With whom you are staying? So my
Hmm.
mantra or my recipe is I can perform to my best. I'm a pure Sagittarius, and I'm a freedom seeker, freedom lover,
Haha.
and I will bloom if the freedom and power of execution is given to me. And that is what is something that has been perfectly understood by my family. So
Mm-hmm.
my dad, my sister, my husband, they are always there, but they don't micromanage, they don't intervene, and they always know that if the problem is there, she will come back, she will approach. But if I am at home, I don't bring in cycling much, and I try to be a good wife, good mother, try to
Mm-hmm.
give
Mm-hmm.
justice to what I'm doing. But when I'm on the road, they kind of follow same thing. They will never call me or they will never ask me with whom did you stay, what did you do,
Hmm.
what is the minor plan, how much are you cycling. So these are the things that are giving me 100% confidence and 100% mental peace, and that is the
Yeah.
I have been very, very blessed to have very minimal interference from my family, and that's the maximum support I can say one can give to
Hmm.
someone who is trying to do
Lovely.
something independently.
I am kind of ashamed to ask this question, but I'm sure a lot of them would have this question, and that is that for men it is very easy to just get out and do what they want to do, but for women it has always been a certain taboo in our country, and here you are doing everything that has been said is not possible or is should not be done. You are able to achieve that. What would you like to say about it?
So the path is not as rosy as it looks. Specifically in tandem cycling, for various reasons, you will have to change your partners. When you are on next partner, you are basically judged by the next partner. Many few people will have idea about same person coming on board due to lack of money or lack of time, sometimes lack of interest. Then many people are blessed solo cyclists, so they are not tandem cyclists. They given a chance, they don't want to do tandem cycling. Another challenge of tandem cycling is when you are riding in mixed pair, there is no rocket science. There are many women in cycling who have done records on tandem cycle, which they are not able to do on solo cycle ever.
Hmm.
So there is no rocket science that in male and female pair, sometimes
Yeah.
there will be imbalance in powers. Sometimes there will be imbalance in who is strong or whatever. So that's another controversial topic. One
Hmm.
controversial
Hmm.
topic here is uh, who is the person you are riding with for normal people. And another controversial topic is from where the power comes, who is the strong person. So tandem cycling itself is about making a team.
Can you share a little more about, because tandem as a format is still pretty new in India, and Not many have done that. There have been few instances that where we have seen people are doing that. One of them is yourself. But if someone wants to take it up as a challenge, or they want to explore this as a format, what are some of the things that one should keep in mind when they are planning to go on a tandem exploration?
So tandem cycle basically is about compatibility. You have to be compassionate and compatible cyclist rather than a trained or a fast cyclist. So that kind of sums it up. And another thing that I have always seen, or I have always said to myself, is it's like a marriage. If both the people are compatible, or it's like a marriage, or it's like a potato race. If both the people try to be together and they decide that they want to be together and everything, then it's fun part. But if it happens otherwise, then there is nothing disastrous or devastating like tandem bike. So someone who is a good cyclist, or with a good power, or a cyclist with lot of technique, might not be the best tandem rider. But someone...
It has to be in sync with the two riders.
Yes, and someone who believes that, see, why I'm doing tandem, I would have done all these passes on solo bike as well. I might have submitted the passes 5 or 7 minutes before, or 10 or 15 minutes later. But definitely want to set something up which is very, very difficult to break for someone. So I want to take the advantage of rarity of tandem in the country. Like every record needs to be broken. Now Nirmal Purja, whose inspiration I am taking, that record itself is being threatened by a Norwegian climber and a female climber. So good. Every record needs to be broken, threatened, and better people will come in the field. But as a strategy, when you are setting up a record, you set it so difficult for next person that even for attempting, someone needs to think twice or thrice. So, coming back to your question, transporting tandem is a very big issue. Then tandem that I am having is entry level tandem. So it succumbs to lot of mechanical failures after 1,000-2,000 kilometers, specifically on
and that's
rear
what is
wheel,
available in our country.
Because the tandem is entry level parts are available, but you cannot obviously pick that machine quickly. You need special van or special tempo. It's a 22, 23, 25 kg, 8 feet machine. So tandems are long. You have to ride it. You cannot just quickly call your ride off and say, okay, now I'm going back, because sometimes it's not possible to dismantle or transport this tandem. Then always finding partners. Then another thing is someone who rides in the front will use a lot of front body or upper body energy is required, and someone who is riding in the back, they will have lot of pressure on their saddle, and lower body parts are having pressure. So these are some of the considerations that you have to make. If very heavy rider or very tall rider sits at the back, then on climb, obviously the overall weight or overall center of gravity is getting pushed. So these are some of the considerations, and it's little different. You will never be left alone, but it will never, you will never have a very speedy ride, but you will have a stable and a very, unique ride.
You generally do a lot of self-supported rides.
Right.
What are some of the considerations or differences that it's very difficult to distinguish, especially when you're riding for hundreds and thousands of kilometers where there is no supervision? What is a supported ride? What is an unsupported ride? Because people might knowingly or unknowingly cross that line where it's an unsupported becomes a supported. What are some of the things, that if someone wants to do a supported, must keep in mind?
So unsupported ride basically arises from the fact that the riders are possibly not able to have their own crew and their own car. They don't have that financial bearing. That is where unsupported ride arises. So unsupported ride means you are supported or self-sufficient in terms of your navigation, in terms of your mechanical issues, in terms of
Yeah.
whatever you want, you have to carry on your bike. So for example, when I ride my tandem or few of the records, you will never see me wearing cycling jersey, because I
Hmm.
am using all the old clothes from my house, because I have 2 3 layers. I use them for 2 3 days and I discard them on highway, and in market that is coming ahead, I will buy new clothing or something, and then I will go ahead. So my clothing also is very very basic sometimes. So unsupported rides allow you to carry only your bike spares. Basically you will have to be light enough, otherwise you, if you are carrying everything, then it's not possible for you to clock that 150, 160, 200
Yeah.
kilometers a day. So basically unsupported ride is not to have your car anywhere near you. If there is a car in somewhere, or if someone is micromanaging your ride from another 100 200
Hmm.
kilometers, telling you in
Hmm.
which hotel to stay, what to do, how to navigate, then basically it's not a unsupported ride.
Hmm.
And that is what I want to stress upon. Unsupported rides are done not to just show that your bike doesn't have a bag and to keep these bags in your car. Unsupported ride is done basically because you are not able to gather your crew, or you are not able to have funding for car support. Otherwise, anyone would prefer to go with a car support, and riding is
Yeah.
the only thing that remains then. But in unsupported ride, you have to be highway friendly. You have to be people's person. Only cycling
Hmm.
skill doesn't matter. It's your skill of getting things done quickly for you and
Yeah.
your team.
Yeah. That brings me to my next question. What is in your backpack when you're riding?
Yeah, so in my backpack, there are first of all lot of creams. They give me lot of mental breather. There are n number of skin moisturizers and lot of creams that I used to use in my childhood. They are from like Amrut Malam, Kailash Jivan. So these are the creams that I have in my backpack. Then
Yeah.
immediate I have spares for this one. Spares for my tandem, like spare chain linkers, Allen keys.
Uh,
Besides that, I have 2 3 layers of warmers, or 2 3 layers of
yeah.
clothing, and some basic food in the sense food that will last me for 1 to 1.5 days. So when I go,
Yeah.
I'm a tea addict, and so as my partner. So generally we will have tea anywhere and everywhere, and with that we will order parathas or whatever, because see, all my events are unique. They are
Yeah.
not very fast
Yes.
events, so we have that much of breather where we can
Hmm. Hmm.
stop in local shops, or where we can go to talk to people, understand their food habits. We also like to do that. Even if we are doing some record, we like to keep it very light. We don't
Yeah.
take much tension. So we like to talk to people, take photographs, interact with toll booth people. So all these
Yeah.
things, and some creams, some food, some bike spares, some documents is all that I have in my bags.
Few essentials that are required, because not everything is available on the internet. But since you have done this, Bhutan ride on and several other rides, what are some of the essentials which has to be there apart from the, of course, spares and mechanical stuff? What are few of the things essentials which has to be there?
You need some, first of all, you need a universal skin moisturizer, or something that you can even consume internally, like a coconut oil or almond oil, which is pure, which can be applied anywhere in case of irritation, or taken internally, is something I believe. And secondly, I always carry few packs of energy gels, because
Mm-hmm.
that is something which is you are used to. You have practiced using those gels. So in case of difficulty, or in case
Yeah.
of food not being available, you are not comfortable with the food, you can use those energy gels or chickies or power bars. So some kind of food that will last you for a day or so, and your something that protects your skin is ultimate. I mean, that's something that it's must to have. And
Yeah.
besides that, some basic medication, in the sense few painkillers, or few sprays like Volini, uh, in
Mm.
case of fall, or those are the things. Other things are like your documents, your numbers of your family members, or Weather
Yeah.
keeps on changing on these passes massively. So when you are
Mm.
doing 40-50 kilometer pass, at the bottom you are really sweating. But in last 5 kilometers, I have had riders with me in the Bhutan trip.
Mm.
They couldn't summit Chelela because last 4 kilometers it was raining and it was very cold, 2 degrees. So I have
Mm.
had people on good cycle, but they were not adequately dressed, or their jackets were in the bus
Mm.
support car that we had. So very, very important for you to have your extra layers either on you or your bike or your backpack. These are some
Mm.
of the things, important contact numbers. And I'm not someone who is into heavy gadgets and all. So I like to keep it minimum on that front.
Coming back to Bhutan, so you went on a hilly journey, uh, uphill journey, I would say. What uh, to do all these things? You mentioned that you want to set challenges or you want to set records which are difficult to break. But what is it that moves you to do it? Is it the view of the countryside, or is it the fact that you are set on to break some record or create some record, or is it just for some personal satisfaction? What is it that what's your calling, and what's your purpose to hit the road?
It, I think for me it is very, very much clear, but it can be very, very silly for someone. If you will tell me that Mira 200 or 300 or 600 kilometer breve is happening, there are another 200 riders. Or if
Yeah.
you will tell me, Mira, a good Ironman race is happening where you can go and you can just have a very rewarding race, then I might
Yeah.
not even start that journey, because my whole right now I'm driven by the fact that I'm doing something which has not been
Mm-hmm.
done by anyone. So every single kilometer, every single pedal is driven by the fact that okay, even though I'm not applying for Guinness every day, or even though
Mm.
many people don't know what I'm doing, but I know that no one in the world has thought on these lines, and no one is
Mm.
done what I'm doing currently is my driving. And maybe I don't know, it comes from the scientific background that I have. My cycling is very much tipping towards innovation now. I have also written to few transgender organizations, to be honest with you, because
Mm-hmm.
when I saw these people on highway, I thought that if many companies are working towards their inclusion, then why I can't
Yeah.
onboard one or two such people who can enjoy these
Mm.
tandem rides with me. So I didn't feel anything odd or what people will think when I was writing to these institutes. I had also looked at few para riders in India. So to answer your question, uniqueness is my only kick.
Mm.
Yeah.
Lovely. Something that's more unique is that uh, you are pushing your daughter as well to take up sports as a hobby or as something that they should do. Uh, One of your daughter recently completed a triathlon as well. So, what has been that journey? Behind the bike, you are also a mother and now a coach, maybe to your daughter. So, what has been that journey with your daughter for the sports?
So that is extremely rewarding journey, because sometimes your daughter see you going out, going for different events, and I personally wanted to be that parent who is not sitting outside on the ground or at the swimming pool asking your people to get medals. I mean, there has been
Hmm.
discussions, there have been kind of these thoughts also, that for these kind of parents, that are you seeing your dream through your kids? But I don't think so it is like that. Sometimes
Hmm.
your kids also see what is good and bad for them. So I have been
Yeah.
very, very fortunate to have two hardworking girls, and both of them
Yeah.
played, and they have multiple CBSE state level medals. Both of them participated in nationals. The younger one
Wow.
got herself selected in Khelo. So basically, rather than just shuttling them to coach, it's a whole and soul process. And as my husband correctly said, it's outsourced parenting. I mean, these kind of choices or this process teaches you or teaches them to take failure, be empathetic to others, work in team, have a planned
Hmm.
day, not to deviate here and there, eating less
Yeah.
junk, and reducing screen time. So, opting for doing sports at this level, it's kind of outsourced parenting. They are very much on
Yeah.
track. They travel on their own by local transport to MG Road. And initial 4 5 years, I was very very busy. I had to sacrifice many of my events due to time issue or funding issue for my own events. But all this is coming in the form of reward now, that I see them very independent. They can manage
Hmm.
their own day. They know what they need to do. They are
Yeah.
physically fit. So all these 4 5 years, it's now paying off. And I believe national medal or a state medal is a very personal, and it has, someone might have a state or national medal or they might not have, but one should look at that entire process where the person or
Hmm.
your teams are getting groomed for good life. So that is what it was. It has been extremely rewarding. And initially, I used to get little angry or agitated that, oh, this competition is also gone. I will not. But looking back, I feel whatever choices I made, I have been extremely lucky that I was involved in everything. And we as a family cherish all those moments.
Wonderful. And I'm sure a lot of other listeners and their families would take inspiration from you to apply it in their life, or maybe just, get a little push that they needed to get started or bring a small change in their life. So, is there anything else that I should ask you?
No, Rohan, but at the end, see, there sometimes you just keep going, and you feel that at some point, at when you are 70, 80, 90% on that climb, you feel why I'm doing this, why I have started this. So it's very very important and very very difficult to keep
Hmm.
yourself away from all these thoughts. See,
Yeah.
everywhere there will be unfair situations. People will try to take your ideas, people will try to cheat, they will try to do something which you might not like, or that might not match your perspective. But at the end, it's very very important to put your head down and concentrate on your goals, irrespective of how you are being judged, what someone else
Yeah.
thinks about you. I think it's very very important for everyone to
Hmm.
concentrate on their own goals. And I'm also now 47, so I'm humbly accepting all the changes that are, happening, physical, mental,
Hmm. Hmm.
my family level. And I'm trying to take small, small goals and cross these goals, cross these benchmarks slowly and steadily. And thank you so much, Rohan.
It's really rewarding for me to listen to your story and get me that caffeine shot that was required to start my day. Uh, awesome listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and if you have liked, please do comment or DM us what you felt. You could also DM Meera on her profiles. You could ask her questions if there is anything related for any of her rides, or you would like to embark on a ride. So do keep us posted, and we would be back with many more such exciting stories on Hit the Road. Till then, make sure you stay subscribed on Epilog Media website or wherever you get a podcast from. Till then, goodbye, and make sure you keep riding.